local matters.
The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors have been proudly serving the people of this community since 1918. Service is our motto. The poor, the rich, the middle class, and all are given the best of care and attention at all times. You have the privilege to select what you want. In your time of need, contact the capable, the competent, and the dependable staff of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home who is genuinely concerned with your care. At J.W. Williams Funeral Home, you are aptly served by the proprietor president, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, who continues the traditions and values set forth by the past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Your announcers for the J.W. Williams Funeral Home Sunday morning program are Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Reverend Isaac H. Owens, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, Minister Frankie Harmon, Ms. Sandra Johnson, and Deacon Earl Clark, Jr.
Thank you, and good morning, friends. We come to you this morning to bring announcements, dedications, and songs. We certainly hope that your day may be brighter after listening to our program. The family of Miss Tracy Latoya Hughes of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Deacon Jimmy Jerome Story Jr. of Montezuma, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Bernice High Green of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Isaac James Jenkins of Americus, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for the food, flowers, condolences, and all other expressions of sympathy and kindness shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. Miss Tracy Latoya Hughes of 105 West 2nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Thursday, July 23rd at her residence in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Tracy Latoya Hughes was held Wednesday, July 29th, graveside at the Pleasant Hill Baptist Church Cemetery, Hatley Community, Cordele, Georgia. Dr. Ruby Jackson officiated. The eulogy was delivered by her beloved aunt, Dr. Deanne Hoslin. Survivors include her loving and devoted mother, Miss Sharon Tripp Wright of Cordele, Georgia, her beloved father, Mr. Lloyd Hughes Sr. of Cordele, Georgia, her loving sisters, Miss Lakeisha Tripp and Miss Christy Prather, both of Warner Robins, Georgia, Miss LaShondra Hughes of Moultrie, Georgia, her beloved brothers, Mr. Lloyd Hughes Jr., Mr. Adrian Hughes, Mr. Brandon Hughes, and Mr. Alonzo Hughes, all of Cordele, Georgia, her beloved nieces and nephew, Myasia, Kimonti, Jacob Jr., and Kalia, her beloved aunts and uncles, Miss Donald Tripp, Miss Regina Tripp, Mr. Napoleon Armstrong, Miss Glenda Hughes, Mr. Mark Hughes, Mr. Alvin Hughes, and Mr. Vance Hughes, all of Cordele, Georgia, Miss Marilyn Jones of Orlando, Florida, Miss Priscilla Carter, and Miss Christine Rogers, both of Sylvester, Georgia. Her brothers-in-law, Mr. Jacob Anderson Jr., Sr., and Mr. Timothy Pratt. Her sister-in-law, Miss Amanda Hughes, a host of cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing survived Miss Tracy Latoya Hughes of 105 West 2nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. Deacon Jimmy Jerome Story Jr. of 607 Washington Street, Montezuma, Georgia, died Sunday, July 26th at the Phoebe Putnam Memorial Hospital in Albany, Georgia. The public visitation for Deacon Jimmy Jerome Story Jr. was held Friday, July 31st at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include a loving daughter, Miss Jessica Story of Atlanta, Georgia, his beloved sisters, Miss Yolanda Hoggerbrook of Albany, Georgia, Miss Latreia McKellar of Loganville, Georgia, Miss Patricia Hoggerbrook of Stone Mountain, Georgia, and Miss Elizabeth Walden of Lithonia, Georgia, a loving and devoted cousin whom he regarded as a sister, Miss Billy Wickerson of Oglethorpe, Georgia, a beloved niece, Miss Lee Flournoy, who lovingly assisted in his care, a host of other nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survived. Deacon Jimmy Jerome Story Jr. of 607 Washington Street, Montezuma, Georgia. Mrs. Bernice High Green, age 99, of 306 Harvey Lane, Americus, Georgia, died Thursday, July 23rd at the Phoebe Sumter Medical Center in Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Bernice High Green, age 99, was held Saturday, August 1st, graveside at the Staley Memorial Garden in Americus, Georgia. Her pastor, Bishop Melvin McCluster, pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church in Americus, Georgia, officiating. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mrs. Bobby Andrews and her husband, Deacon William Andrews, Dr. Shirley Green Reese, Mr. Jimmy L. Green, and Dr. Gregory Green, all of Americus, Georgia. Her devoted, supportive, and loving grandchildren, Miss Cherie Andrews, Miss Lysandra Green Williams, Miss Keisha Mansfield, Mr. Jerome Green, Miss Krista Washington, Miss Christy Green, Mr. Gregory Green Jr., Miss Alicia Green, Mr. Warner Hatley, Miss Norwana Miles, Miss Yolanda Pless, Mr. Raymond Green, Miss Kiana Weldon, Mr. Horatio Green, Mr. Rodney Cleckley, and Mr. Derek Caldwell. A caring and loving sister-in-law, Mrs. Thelma Green Anderson of Americus, Georgia. 3 loving daughters-in-law, Mrs. Edith Green, Mrs. Alice Green, and Mrs. Deborah Green, all of Americus, Georgia. Her loving and devoted nieces and nephews, Miss Lucille Moran, Mrs. Elizabeth Klein of Los Angeles, California, Miss Alice Ruth Wooding, Mr. Gerald Frazier, Mr. Marshall Hyde, and Mr. Ronald Hyde of New York City. A host of loving and devoted cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survived. Mrs. Bernice High Green, age 99, of 306 Harvey Lane, Americus, Georgia. Mr. Isaac James Jenkins of 48 Reddick Drive, Americus, Georgia, died Thursday, July 23rd at the Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Isaac James Jenkins was held Saturday, August 1st, graveside at the Antioch Baptist Church Cemetery in Plains, Georgia. His beloved cousin, Pastor Sheila Williams, officiated. Survivors include his loving and devoted daughters, Miss Shakina Jackson of Riverdale, Georgia, Miss Sonia Jackson of Newark, New Jersey, Miss Yamika Jackson of West Palm Beach, Florida, Miss Krista Flowers of Atlanta, Georgia, and Miss Cecilia Flowers of Americus, Georgia. His beloved sons, Mr. Kenneth Johnson and his wife, Mrs. Marilyn Johnson of Lumpkin, Georgia, Mr. Lawrence Jackson of Newark, New Jersey, Mr. Mario Robinson, Mr. Tyrone Robinson, Mr. Tony Flowers, and Mr. Derek Flowers, all of Americus, Georgia. Mr. Christopher Johnson of Atlanta, Georgia. His son-in-law, Mr. Christopher Wickerson of Americus, Georgia. 9 beloved grandchildren, Kentavious Wickerson Sr., LaQuandra Jackson, Jalea Jackson, Tyon Jackson, Alicia Jackson, all of Atlanta, Georgia, Jeremiah Richardson, Jasmine Jones, Kentavious Johnson, Kendarius Johnson, all of Lumpkin, Georgia. His beloved great-grandchildren, Dizaria Wickerson, Kaylin Wickerson, Keisha Wickerson, and Kentavious Wickerson Jr., all of Atlanta, Georgia, and Jackson Richardson of Lumpkin, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. Lee Jenkins and his wife, Mrs. Thelma Jenkins of Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. Ronnie Jenkins of Americus, Georgia, a beloved uncle, Mr. Joe Jenkins of Americus, Georgia, a special cousin, Mr. Johnny Williams of Newark, New Jersey, a host of other cousins, Mr. Willie Jenkins, Minister Ruby Smith, and our husband, Mr. Leroy Smith, Mrs. Mary Jenkins, Mrs. Martha Johnson, and our husband, Mr. Ray Johnson, Mrs. Laurel Jenkins, Ms. Brenda Jenkins, Mrs. Patricia Jenkins, Mrs. Valerie Grimes, and her husband, Mr. Romaine Grimes, Minister Jennifer Dawson, and her husband, Rico Dawson, Mr. Lorenzo Jenkins, and Miss Janice D. Jenkins, a special friend, Miss Fannie Flowers of Americus, Georgia, Miss Shantae Crawley of Atlanta, Georgia, and a host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Isaac James Jenkins of 48 Reddick Drive, Americus, Georgia. Again, the family of Miss Tracy Latoya Hughes of Cordele, Georgia, the family of Deacon Jimmy Jerome Story Jr. of Montezuma, Georgia, the family of Mrs. Bernice Green, age 99, of Americus, Georgia, the family of Mr. Isaac James Jenkins of Americus, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for all of the many kindnesses shown to them during the hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. May God bless each of you, is their prayer. The J.W. Williams funeral directors serving Cordele and Diana were in charge of each of these arrangements during the past week. And now, it is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcement. Mr. Bobby Lee Anderson Sr. of El Dorado Road Mr. Bobby Lee Anderson Sr. of 90 El Dorado Road, Tifton, Georgia, died Saturday, August 1st at the Tift Regional Hospital in Tifton, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Mr. Bobby Anderson Jr., Mr. Antonio Anderson and his wife, Mrs. Delisa Anderson, all of Cochran, Georgia. Mr. Shedrick Anderson of Texas, Mr. Sharon Anderson, Miss Sharon Anderson of Atlanta, Georgia. 22 beloved grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, his beloved sisters, Mrs. Betty Person of Jonesboro, Georgia, Mother Mary Henderson and her husband, Mr. R.C. Henderson, Miss Shirley F. Green, Miss Linda G. Green, Miss Tammy Green, and Miss Keisha Newsom, all of Cordele, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. Anthony Green and his wife, Mrs. Carol Green of Tennessee, Mr. Kermit Green and his wife, Mrs. Lillian Green, Mr. Benjamin Green, Mr. Ricky Anderson, Mr. Eddie L. Green Jr., Mr. Steve Green, Mr. Steve E. Williams, Mr. Zobe Smith, and Mr. Quan Newsom, all of Cordele, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Bobby Lee Anderson Sr. of 90 El Dorado Road, Tifton, Georgia. See if the volume on the TV. The funeral service for Mr. Bobby Lee Anderson Sr. will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangement. Mr. James L. Bridges of 356 U.S. Highway 280 West, Americus, Georgia, died Saturday, August 1st at the Sacred Journey Hospice in McDonald, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Mr. Kelsey Bridges, and his wife, Mrs. Shamana Bridges of Perry, Georgia, Miss Lakeisha Bridges, Mr. Kelvis Bridges, Miss Kitita Bridges, Mr. Christopher Bridges, and his wife, Mrs. Neana Bridges, all of Americus, Georgia. 35 beloved grandchildren, 16 great-grandchildren, his beloved and devoted sisters, Mrs. Mary Moses and her husband, Mr. Ray Moses, Mr. Early Mann and her husband, Mr. Christopher Mann, Mrs. Jacqueline Bridges, Mrs. Eveline Bridges, and Mrs. Martha Mitchell, all of Americus, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. Timothy Bridges and his wife, Mrs. Melinda Bridges of Hampton, Georgia, and Mr. Jack Bridges and his wife, Mrs. Alicia Bridges of Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Nathan Bridges of Americus, Georgia, a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. James Leonard Bridges of 356 U.S. Highway 280 West, Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. James Leonard Bridges will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors, serving Cordele and Vienna, are in charge of these arrangements during this week. Friends, that conclude our funeral notices for this morning. And as always, we do remind you concerning our pre-funeral arrangements planning available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home, with packages available with a single pay, a 3-year pay, and a 5-year pay. So please stop by and talk with us concerning your pre-funeral arrangements needs available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. And also whole life insurance is available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. And please pardon us for our technical difficulties this morning. We have a pretty bad echo in the studio this morning, and I hear myself talking, and that's kind of annoying there. So please bear with us. And now for announcements. The New Poplar Springs Baptist Church of Byronville, Georgia, Sunday morning worship will be this morning, Sunday at 9:45 a.m. and Wednesdays evening at 6:45 p.m. via conference call. Please dial 253-993-3761. 253-993-3761. The New Poplar Springs Baptist Church of Byronville, Georgia, invite you to worship with them this first Sunday in August at 9:45 a.m. Please dial 253-993-3761. The Reverend Johnny Dean, pastor, the New Poplar Springs Baptist Church of Byronville, Georgia. The Great Amaris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church conference call scheduled as follows. Sunday morning worship today, this morning at 10 a.m. Tuesday midday prayer conference at 12 noon. Thursday prayer meeting and Bible study at 6 p.m. The call-in number for the conference call is 229-329-7611. 229-329-7611. And again, the Great Amaris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church conference call invites you this first Sunday in August, Sunday morning worship at 10 a.m. And please tune in for a very special devotion this morning, being presented by the mother of the church, Mother Lucille Shazer, age 107, will lead in the morning's prayer. Please tune in at 229-329-7611 and hear this 107-year-old woman make a petition to her father. Everyone is invited. Mother Lucille Shazer, church mother, Deacon Kenneth Smith, program chairman, Deacon Tommy Ford, vice chairman of deacons, Dr. K.M. Williams, pastor. Congratulations to our dear friend, Miss Jennifer Ray, the daughter of late Deacon C.R. Ray, past chairman of the Little Rock Baptist Church in Arabi, Georgia, and Mother Lucinda Ray of Arabi, Georgia, who completed all the requirements for the doctoral degree in educational leadership and administration from Cambridge College in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Again, congratulations to our dear friend, Dr. Jennifer Ray, formerly of Arabi, Georgia, who've completed all the requirements for a doctoral degree in educational leadership and administration. God bless you, and may you continue your successful work there. Friends, that conclude our announcements for this morning. And now for dedication. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: in loving memory of Mrs. Dorothy Colbert Perry, who departed this life August 1st, 1984. Dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, and extended family. In loving memory of Mother Artie B. Brown of Arabi, Georgia, who departed this life August 1st, 2018. Dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. Gone but not forgotten. Mother Artie B. Brown of Arabi, Georgia. In loving memory of Mr. Cecil Rogers, who departed this life on his birthday, August 1st, 2007. Dedication requested by the Rogers family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Georgia Fuller, who would have celebrated her birthday August 2nd. Dedication requested by her beloved sister, Mrs. Annette Stembridge, and family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Gwendolyn Brown, who would have celebrated her birthday August 4th. Dedication requested by her beloved daughter, Miss Jackie Moore, her grandchildren, and the entire Brown family of Arabi, Georgia. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Priscilla Reese Wright, who would have celebrated her birthday August 4th. Dedication requested by her beloved daughter, Miss Amanda Wright, and the entire Wright family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Cynthia Calloway Horn, who departed this life August 5th, 2013. Dedication requested by her beloved family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. Jerry Savage, who would have celebrated his birthday August 6th, dedication requested by his beloved mother, Mother Grace Patrick, and the entire family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Deacon Everett Montford, who would have celebrated his birthday August 7th, dedication requested by the Montford, Manning, and Hughes family. Precious memory lingers still. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy birthday to Mrs. Barbara Smith, who celebrated her birthday Thursday, July 30th. Dedication comes from her beloved mother, Mother Leela Smith, her children, grandchildren, her siblings, friends, and all of the members of the Zion Hope Baptist Church, where she served so faithfully. Happy birthday, Mrs. Barbara Smith, and many, many more. Happy birthday to Ms. Jeanette Smith, who celebrated her birthday Saturday, August 1st. Dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, and the entire Smith family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Loretha Coley, better known to all of us as Sugar Doll, who celebrated her birthday Saturday, August 1st. Dedication comes from her children, Tiffany, and her husband, Mr. McKeith Johnson, Courtney Coley, the grandchildren, and her entire family there. Her sister, Miss Aletha Askew, and all of the family says happy birthday to Sugar Doll and many, many more. Special birthday wishes goes out to my nephew, Deacon Kenneth E. Smith Jr. of the Great Amaris Tabernacle Baptist Church, who is celebrating his birthday today, August 2nd. Dedication come from his children, Kylie and Kendon, his parents, his family, entire family, and the members of the Great Amaris Tabernacle Baptist Church, his pastor, Dr. Kim Williams, Deacon Tommy Ford, and Mother Lucille Shazer, and all of the church members. Says happy birthday on today to Deacon Kenneth E. Smith Jr. Happy birthday to Miss Beverly Reese, better known as Sue Gal, who will celebrate her birthday Tuesday, August 4th. Dedication requested by her children, grandchildren, her sister, and the entire family there. Happy birthday and many, many more. Happy birthday to Mrs. Dorothy Jean Gaines, who will celebrate her birthday Wednesday, August 5th. Dedication requested by the entire family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Sandra Faye Green, who will celebrate her birthday Friday, August 7th. Dedication requested by her children, grandchildren, and the entire family. Special birthday wishes goes out to Miss Rita Cross, who will celebrate her birthday Saturday, August 8th. Dedication requested by the entire family. Our first selection this morning goes out to the following. To Connor Eric D. Bryant, candidate for the Sumter County Sheriff. Mr. Kenneth Hamilton, candidate for the Sumter County Commissioner, District 5. Mrs. Tawana Buffett Edward, candidate for the Sumter County Tax Commissioner. To Dr. Elizabeth Maddox, incumbent and candidate for the Christ County Board of Education seat, and to her husband, Deacon James Maddox, and the Reverend Isaac H. Owens, candidate for the Christ County Chief Magistrate Judge. Our first election this morning goes out to the following. Evangelist Dorothy Sims Williams of Albany and Americus, Georgia, prayer warrior. To Mother Nell Ford and family, Mrs. Willie Mae Leary and family of Hatley, Georgia, Deacon Earl Leary and family, Miss Patricia Leary and family, Mr. Eddie Leary and family, Mr. William Carter and the entire Carter family of Hatley, Georgia, Miss Pearl Reed and family, Mrs. Maggie Harmon and family, Mother Jessie Kate Harmon and family, Miss Eddie Mae Cooks and family, Mrs. Ethel Fullwood and family, Missionary Clement Jones and family, the Reverend Leonard Boston and family, Mrs. Lily Mae Rockwell and family, Mrs. Jackie Baldwin and family, the McAdoo family of Wilcox County, Mr. Calvin Smith and family, Miss Sandra Simpson and family, Mr. Robert Harvey and family, Mr. Harold Bryant and family, Miss Martha Hayes and family, Mr. Cleveland Paul and family, Mrs. Martha King and family, Mr. and Mrs. Johnny L. Williams and family, Miss Betty Rivers and family, Mr. Tyrone and Miss Angela Walker and family, the Reverend Terrell Tate and family, Mr. Larry Bryan and family, Mr. Alvin Adams and family, Miss Sabrina Smith and family, Mrs. Elaine Walker and family, Mrs. Jessie Carbon and family, Miss Thelma Brown and family, Mr. Hinton Dean and family, Mrs. Helen Dean and family, Miss Vera Carter and family, Mr. Kent Clark and family, Mr. John and Miss Geraldine Lewis and family, Miss Dorothy Dean and family, Miss Jeanette Dean and family, Mr. Dwight and Miss Tierra Tennant and family, Miss Cassandra Morris and family, Mr. Lorenzo Jones and family, Mr. Roosevelt and Miss Phyllis Williams and family, Deacon Al and Miss Sabrina Jones and family, Miss Sue Hartridge and family, Miss Betty Wilson and family, Mother Fannie Mae James and family, church mother of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, Mrs. Aletha Askew, church clerk and trustee of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, Mr. Cleveland R. Lemon, oldest staff member of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. This first selection goes out to my neighbor, Mrs. Theron Jones and family, the entire Jones and Tarbert family, Mrs. Dorothy Tarbert and the entire family, Mr. Johnny and Miss Juanita Tarbert and family, Deacon James Smith and family. Our first selection for this morning.
Be reminded
to the following: Mr. Simon Felder and family, Ms. Johnny Bell Sanders and family, the Reverend and Mrs. Keith Lewis and family of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. and Mrs. George Rockert and family, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Black and family, Miss Pamela Law and family, Mr. Harvey C. and family, Mrs. Blondie Bill and family, Mrs. Maddie West and family, Mr. and Mrs. John Leroy Perry and family, the Cantrell family, the Hardwick family, Miss Marion Felton and family, Mrs. Bobby Jean Vanbro and family, Mr. and Mrs. Mrs. W.D. King and family, Miss Christine Kingdom and family, Miss and Mrs. Pernell Lakeland family, Dr. and Mrs. Thaddeus Lakeland family, Mrs. Dorothy Lamar and family, Deacon Willie C. Kendrick and family, the Cleo Hoggerbrook family, Mrs. Cynthia Woodson and family, Miss Rosa Cooper and family, Miss Lily Mae Perry and family, the Mike Hamilton family of Lily, Georgia, Mr. and Mrs. Emerson Lundy and family, the Granville family, Mr. Arthur Lawson and family, Mrs. Calvin Basket Jr. and family, Mr. Frank Thomas and family, Mrs. Molly Williams and family, Mrs. Shirley Jean Taylor and family, Mrs. Evelyn Thomas and family, Mrs. G. Lundy and family, Miss Eunice Lewis and family, Mrs. Claudia Mae Dawson and family, Mr. and Mrs. Frank Almond and family, Mrs. Minnie Jewel Duhart and family, Mrs. Randall Lango and family, Mr. and Mrs. Wayne Adams and family, Deacon and Mrs. Willis Sutton and family, Miss Nanny Lee Burks and family, Mr. Tommy Rogers and family, Mr. and Mrs. Willie Lee Taylor Sr. and family, the Crosby family, Deacon Chester Mike Williams and family, Mrs. Maddie Ruth King and family, Deacon and Mrs. Bruce Kendrick and family, Mr. Roger Duhart and family, Miss Doris Duhart and family, Mrs. Nora Lee Adams and family, Deacon and Mrs. Betty Crane and family, Pinehurst, Georgia, Deacon John David Law, chairman of the Board of Deacons of the Evergreen Baptist Church of Pinehurst, Georgia, our next selection for this morning.
Because there's nobody greater. Peter wasn't greater. He's still in the grave. Muhammad wasn't greater. He's still in the grave. But Jesus Christ of Nazareth is the only God they put in the grave. But 3 days later, oh, go check out the tomb. He ain't there. You can check it out. He ain't there no more. Because he's sitting on the right hand of his Father. So we have a simple song we sing. It says, I searched all over, couldn't find nobody. I searched high and low, I still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater. Yes, sir. Nobody greater. Nobody greater than you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my. I searched all over, couldn't find nobody. Listen, I searched high and low, I still couldn't find nobody. Hallelujah. Nobody greater. Nobody greater. Nobody greater than you.
It is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcement. Mr. Bobby Lee Anderson of 90 Eldorado Road, Tifton, Georgia, died Saturday, August 1st at the Tift Regional Hospital in Tifton, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Bobby Lee Anderson will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. Mr. James Leonard Bridges of 356 U.S. Highway 280 West, Americus, Georgia, died Saturday, August 1st at the Sacred Journey Hospice in McDonald, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. James Leonard Bridges will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors, serving Cordele and Vienna, are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Our next and final selection for this morning is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones were laid to rest during the past week. The family of Miss Tracy Latoya Hughes of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Deacon Jimmy Jerome Story Jr. of Montezuma, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Bernice High Green, age 99, of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Isaac James Jenkins of Americus, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones will be laid to rest during this week. The family of Mr. Bobby Lee Anderson of Tifton, Georgia. The family of Mr. James Leonard Bridges of Americus, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to all of the sick and shut in, to all patients in the local and surrounding hospitals, nursing homes, and rehabilitation centers, to our beloved ministers and their devoted family members, to all retired educators, to the men and women serving in our armed forces, both stateside and abroad, to all veterans, and to everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you. Our program goes out in memory of our past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Goes out to my wife, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, to my son, Jai Wilkerson Parker. The selection goes out to my mother-in-law, Mrs. Billy Ann Hall, and family. Goes out to my brother, retired Chief Master Sergeant Norman F. Dexter, to his wife, Dr. Gwendolyn Maxine Dexter, and family of Vienna, Georgia. This selection goes out to my sister, Miss Maddie Mae Johnson, better known as Sister Girl, and Mrs. Patsy Jackson, and her husband, Mr. Jim Jackson, and family of Cordele, Georgia. This selection goes out to my nephew, Deacon Kenneth Smith Jr., again, who's celebrating his birthday on today. Happy birthday to Deacon Kenneth Smith Jr. on today, August 2nd, program chairman of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church. This selection goes out to our pastor, Dr. K.M. Williams, pastor of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church and moderator of the Gum Creek Missionary Baptist Association. To his wife, Sister Kathy Williams, and family. Goes out again to their son, the Reverend Christopher Williams, pastor of the Antioch Baptist Church, who celebrated his first anniversary of the Antioch Baptist Church on last Sunday in Cuthbert, Georgia. We say again, congratulations to him, and continue in the work of Christ. Our selection goes out again to our mother of the church, Mother Lucille Shazer, age 107, and again be leading in the devotional service of the conference call of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Baptist Church this morning, if the Lord's willing. And again, we invite you to tune in to the worship services of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Baptist Church. That conference call number 229-329-7611, 229-329-7611, with Mother Lucille Shazer leading in the devotional prayer this morning, and the pastor, Dr. K.M. Williams, bringing the message for this first Sunday in August. Our program this morning goes out to our dear beloved Miss Easter May Sanders, and hope she's feeling well this morning. Goes out especially to Mrs. Ida Ruth Bryant this morning. Hope that she is doing well this morning. Our selection this morning goes out to Mrs. Ethelene Perry and family, Mr. and Mrs. Clarence White and family, Miss Charlie Mae Peacock and family, Mrs. Nettie Mae Wise and family, Mrs. Alton Jordan and family, Vienna, Georgia, Mr. and Mrs. Scotty Grant and family, the Clee Cross family, Mr. Clayton Dykes and family, Mrs. Charlotte Cheney family, Vienna, Georgia, the Clayton family, Deacon Lonnie Clayton and family, Mr. Harry Bird and family, Miss Carrie Wheeler and family, Miss Lucia Bryan and family, Mr. Michael Sanders and family, Miss Lily Brown and family, Mr. and Mrs. Eddie James Walker and family, Byronville, Georgia, and the entire Walker family, the Burks family, the Reverend and Mrs. Lewis Burden and family, Deacon and Mrs. Albert King Sr. and family, the Hazel Clark family, Commissioner and Mrs. Harry Ward and family, Mr. and Mrs. Willie Davis, past mayor of the city of Vienna, Georgia, Miss Ruthie Daniels and family, Miss Viola Green and family, Miss Pearline Roundtree and family, Miss Sarah Coleman and family, Brother and Mrs. James Wise and family, Miss Margaret Jordan, retired educator of the Dooley County School System, Deacon James Russell Burden family of Lily, Georgia, Deacon Walter Brown and family, Mr. and Mrs. Winston Keaton and family, Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Morrell and family, Miss Martha Harris and family, Miss Mary Morrell and family, Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson and family, the Lester family, Mr. and Mrs. James Byram, Mr. James Byram and family, the Whitfield family, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Clark and family, Deacon John David Law and family, Mrs. S.M.A. Davis and family, Odessa Sheffield and family, Miss Benita Armstrong and family, Mr. Eggert Lee and family, Deacon and Mrs. Willie Fields and family, Mr. and Mrs. Jerome Jordan and family, Vienna, Georgia, Miss Christine Jordan and family, Mr. and Mrs. Willie B. Barnes and family of Vienna, Georgia, Deacon Joette Clark and family of Leslie, Georgia, Mrs. Cheryl Henry Cobb and Mrs. Cheryl Cobb Henry and family of Americus, Georgia, our final selection for this morning.
program. Tune in again on next Sunday morning. In your time of need, contact the competent, capable, and dependable staff at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.
Some of these days, well, I'm going to walk up and take up my...
I'm Isaac Owens. I'm a candidate for Chief Magistrate, Crisp County. Over the past couple of months, we've experienced many things, but we are Crisp County. We are strong. We will survive. As we prepare to enter into the second phase of this year, I ask for your vote and your support in my candidacy to be the next Chief Magistrate of Crisp County. We can do this. We will do this. And with your support, I will be the next Magistrate Judge of Crisp County. Thank you for your support.
Non-attorney spokesperson.